Welcome to the Reel Bromance podcast.
So welcome to our first episode of the Reel Bromance podcast. So tonight's movie we're going to be looking at is Big Trouble in Little China.
That sounds exciting.
It is actually a pretty exciting movie. It's a very, very campy movie. But
I was surprised at the campiness myself, yeah.
Were you?
Yeah. Like I said, I knew almost nothing going into this. I'll be 100% honest. I thought this was a buddy cop movie for the longest time. And I was very shocked to see that not only was there no cops, there was barely any buddies, and there was a lot more magic and mayhem.
Well, if you think about it, it was kind of a buddy cop. It was a buddy cop movie, but it was more from like it. What I think threw you off was that you're used to seeing Kurt Russell being like the head honcho, the big guy in charge, like, Snake Plissken, like, that kind of take charge kind of guy. And he kind of played second fiddle to his little buddy there, Wang.
Yeah, it's funny you do put that together, little buddy Wang. But yeah, I agree. I think also coming from things like even The Thing, where he wasn't necessarily like the action over the top star, he was kind of put into like a situation he didn't know anything about. But even, yeah, you're right, he still took charge. He was still like the main guy who kind of knew his thing. So this one was definitely weird. I said we'll do a recap of the whole movie in case those who haven't seen it or need a refresher. I guess, spoiler alert, even though this is 30 plus years old. But yeah, so we'll go through it next with a little bit of a recap. But yeah, I think this is a worthwhile movie overall. But we'll get to that as we go.
Movie recap.
We're gonna start with the recap of the movie. Bear with me as I kind of have a summary here. I want to make sure I get everything, and Matt will be sure to jump in if I mess up, because that's what he does best. So in John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China, it's basically a wild mix of action, comedy, and fantasy following the misadventures of Jack Burton. He's a cocky but clueless truck driver, and that's who is played by Kurt Russell. Jack rolls into San Francisco's Chinatown, expecting to pick up his his friend Wang Chi's fiance, Miao Yin, but things get quickly spiraled out of control when supernatural chaos, when she's kidnapped by the Lords of Death, a street gang working for the ancient sorcerer Lo Pan, which is the main bad guy of the movie. Lo Pan, he's cursed to exist as a ghostly old man. He needs a green-eyed woman to break his curse and regain his physical form. That old thing. Miao Yin fits the bill, but so does Gracie Law, who is a feisty reporter, played by Kim Cattrall, who gets swept up in the madness. Jack, Wang, and their allies, including mystical tour bus driver Egg Shen, who is a really cool character, I must say, dive into the neon-lit underworld of Chinatown, facing off against Lo Pan's supernatural enforcers, the Three Storms, which is pretty cool. Despite Jack's tough guy attitude, he's hilariously out of his depth, often fumbling his way through fights while Wang handles most of the actual heroics. After an explosive rescue mission filled with martial arts, ancient magic, and over-the-top set pieces, Jack and Wang finally confront Lo Pan. In a rare moment of competence, Jack throws a knife, killing Lo Pan, and they escape as his lair collapses. Jack then gets back to his truck, delivers one last monologue, and rides off into the night, completely unaware that a supernatural hitchhiker is lurking in the back. It's a pretty scary monster guy, actually. I'm surprised to see that in the movie.
Which makes you think that they were going to do some kind of sequel.
Would have made sense, yeah. I think.
But I don't think at this point. I don't know if they could. I mean, it would be cool to see.
Kurt Russell's still alive. It could be done.
It could.
if he's gonna do those Fast and Furious movies as much as he did, I think he can handle another one of these. I think that'd be good enough. So that pretty much sums up the movie. It's basically a cult classic. It's definitely full of 80s action, Eastern mythology, satire, and honestly some slapstick humor as well, which I was shocked at. It was goofy and fast-paced and endlessly quotable. Pure Carpenter magic, as they say.
I think there was also that killer '80s soundtrack. With
Oh my God.
The electronic synths and everything like that.
It was awesome. I mean,
it brings you back to your childhood if you're from the '80s.
It really and as a video game player, it was cool to see like there was so much obvious inspirations like for Mortal Kombat. Like you could tell where the creators got their stuff from. Like all the Three Storms was basically Raiden.
Oh, it was Raiden, and then Lo Pan was
Shang Tsung.
Yeah,
Yep, absolutely had to be. That worked out really well, and just a lot of like the even the set pieces and things looked alike. The Lo Pan's like lair looked a lot like the Shang Tsung palace and the stuff. So it was just for me not seeing this movie before, it was pretty cool to see this and recognize like, oh, that's where they got the idea for these things. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in that movie, and like I mean for the '80s and things like that, it was I think it was supposed to be campy. That was the whole point. It was supposed to be goofy, but I think once again John Carpenter, what he does with movies, if you look at Escape from New York, Escape from LA, like you said, The Thing, he makes like these movies and it's just amazing what he can do, and that's why he's one of like the most well-known directors from the 80s and 90s.
What I find odd or weird is, so I've known of John Carpenter. I think the first movie I ever saw by him was Escape from LA, and then I watched Escape from New York. And obviously I was younger, but I took these movies as being action, and I never really focused on the campiness. And I wonder if even this movie, now that I'm watching it older, and not too much older, but older, if the campiness was intended and to be like self-aware and be made fun of, kind of, or if it really did take itself not just an 80s thing. Like, do you think it was intended?
I think it was meant to be like campy. I always like to, we're supposed to be reviewing movies. I'm going into another movie. Like, if you ever seen like The Evil Dead, like the original Evil Dead?
I have not. That'll be on our list.
That'll be next. It was made to be campy. It was made, I think, to be like kind of. It made fun of itself, and that's what it was. That's what it was meant to be. I mean, because look at it. You're bringing in Kurt Russell, who was a relatively well-known actor at the time, to be like this, play the second fiddle to basically like to Wang. And I think it was meant to be that. I think it was meant to be funny. It was a typical, like, it was not typical 80s movie, but it was meant, like, that's what they did in the 80s. Like, it was campy.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you say. I appreciate that, because in terms of an 80s movie, it goes against the mainstream, because it's like it wasn't the popular actor leading the way in action. Instead, it was this guy, like you said, playing second fiddle. And I think the scene that really gave it away for me is right when they're about to start their big fight, and he shoots the ceiling by accident, and the rock falls on him and literally knocks him out for the first part of the whole fight. That was like, oh, okay, there's no Snake Plissken.
No, actually, definitely no Snake Plissken. But if you look at it through the whole movie, Kurt Russell plays like that. Like, for all his bravado, for all his tough guy talk, he's always constantly like, it's they pull out the guns. All the guys start coming out with guns, like in the initial fight, like in the first big fight scene.
Yeah.
He pulls out. Even you said, "What are you gonna do with that knife?"
Yeah.
Like, he pulls out the knife. Then there's even the scene when they're in Lo Pan's palace. And he goes and opens the door, and he's like, "They only saw me. Everyone go hide." And then Wang comes out like the big hero, and Kurt Russell is trying to get his knife out of his boot. He's got his gun. He goes around the corner and gets everything done. Wang kicks the crap out of everyone. Then the Kurt Russell goes, "Ah!" And it's like, what the hell are you doing?
He would have got him. That's all. He was fine. But yeah, that's a good point. It's actually, what's funny is it's cool. And then the truck in the beginning, he pulls out the little knife, and then that ends up being the thing that like kills the main bad guy at the end with quick reflexes.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, exactly. That was total foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing in there.
So that was cool. Like I said, I think the overall I went into this movie pretty blind. So like I said, I saw the trailer beforehand, and that shocked me because I didn't. Like I said, I thought this was a buddy cop movie because from what I've heard about it, what little I knew about it. So the fact when the supernatural stuff came, I thought that was pretty cool. And like in John Carpenter fashion, they always have to have like these grotesque kind of like creatures, including the surveillance orb that was like, all eyes, and then the obviously that like monkey like
it was like
Yeti
a dragon monkey demon.
Yeah, it was that would have made me crap my pants when I was younger if I saw that. That was I will say this: you can't beat practical effects. I feel like if that was nowadays, it'd be CGI, and it would never look as scary or gross or like or really any kind of threatening. So
I think like with these kind of movies, like going back to like Evil Dead and even like this one in particular, like having those kind of grotesque, kind of campy monsters, I feel for me, like as a moviegoer, it pulls me in. Because like I'm trying to look at it, I'm trying to see like, is that a mask? Like, where can I see the zipper? Where can I see like the actor behind it? And for me, it makes it's scary because it could be real because it almost has that Halloweenish type feel to it. But it also draws me. It draws me, and that's why I said like Evil Dead, like these kind of movies, like I like it. Other people watching are like, this is so stupid. It looks so fake. But that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Like it's making fun of it. It's a movie, like, and you're supposed to know it's a movie.
Yeah, I like that because now it's definitely a contrast to like today's movies where they take themselves too seriously in movies where they shouldn't, where it's just kind of over the top. Like perfect example, I brought it up before, but Fast and Furious. It's kind of like one of those things where those movies they start off with street racing and now they basically astronauts with cars. It's just and it's like. The audience knows the joke, but it doesn't seem like the actors are. Like, they're not in on it. I don't know how those movies, like, you know, sorry for the audience members who love those movies, but I can't get past them. I think they're crazy. Like, who knows, though? In 30 years, there'll be two guys continue this legacy, and they'll be talking about how campy those movies are and how fun they are. So you never know. But, I think overall, though, I was happy I saw it. I'm glad I got that under my belt. Like I saw the movie. I love the I love the I love the main character. Jack. Jack was a great character. Jack Burton. One of the things we were talking about while we were watching the movie was how he's such a good character in that he represents the audience in terms of in this movie because he's out of his element. He doesn't know what's going on, as we don't. Sure, he's a little full of himself, but at the same time, as he's learning more, we're learning more, and he's a cool aspect to the movie because he doesn't belong to that movie in the sense that he could be in any movie. He's just a regular truck driver guy, from the 80s, and I like the idea that he could be anybody in any movie, and I thought that was cool. I wish they used him in other stuff. Like, that character is just a good character.
I mean, plus, you look at Jack Burton, there's some, that shirt, even if you haven't seen that movie, you know where that shirt's from that he wears. And I don't know if you noticed it or not, but those boots, I don't know where the hell he got those boots, but those are some high boots. They're almost up to his knee. And I can't tell if they're buckled or what. It almost looks like they were pulled off a set from like a medieval set because like the way they look, they're not cowboy boots. Yeah. They're not military boots. No. They look like high boots from like they were pulled off of like a medieval set. That's the only way I could describe them.
And honestly, I don't think I can think of a more comfortable thing to be wearing while driving a truck.
Yeah. I mean, I can see it. Like, I almost feel like he should be wearing cowboy boots in this because that fits his character. But those don't really. I don't know why. I mean, they fit for the movie. They work for the movie. But I don't know, and I don't know why we're focused on the boots. But
hey, maybe that'll be our other shtick. We'll focus on the feet of our characters and what they have or don't have on them.
And let's be honest, like the Pork Chop Express, like the freaking truck that he drives is amazing, and just that opening the opening monologue. Now, the crazy thing about this is like with the studio and everything, like when they did this, Kurt Russell wasn't quite a bankable star when he made this movie, but they didn't want initially him to play like second fiddle, so they added in that scene at the beginning with Egg talking to his attorney about magic, because if you hear because when he said like the whole Chinatown blew up in green flame and what happened to Jack Burton, and so it was to make it look like Jack and he's like, well, you leave Jack alone. He helped us. Yeah. I mean, really, it was weighing that out.
But he was there, damn it.
But Jack was there with his boots.
With his boots. They're made for walking.
But even that opening monologue is great. He's sitting there eating a sandwich, talking on the CB, what old Jack says. When somebody's staring you in the eye and they got you up against the wall, like you tell them the check's in the mail.
Yeah, I agree, and I like it because it's like you said too. It's like having him narrate that. It shows his character. Then also like in movie, it's him just being full of himself on a CB radio, just eating up the airwaves. Yeah. And to us, it's letting us know who he is.
To me, on a deeper level, it also makes him seem more worldly. Like you said, he feels like he's been everywhere. He even says it in his monologue.
Yeah,
he's been everywhere. He's seen everything. He says it, and then he comes to this, and this is something he hasn't seen before.
Yeah, that's true.
And so he, like you said, he's trying to play catch up with everyone. Everyone else around them seems to know what's going on.
Yeah.
But he's the only one in Chinatown that doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty nuts how everyone is so aware. Even Kim Cattrall's character, who clearly, I don't know. They said she was a lawyer at some point, but I think she was more of, I don't know what she was. But yeah, her and the reporter seemed pretty down to earth and understanding of what was going on, and there's this worldly traveler that still felt lost.
What better name do you have for a lawyer than Gracie Law?
I know, that's a little on the nose. I guess you have to be a lawyer or something with that name, or a porn star, I guess, because those would work too.
Absolutely. And just the dialogue in this movie, once again, it's campy. It makes fun of. She walks in from the rain and she's like, "It's just me, Gracie Law." And it's like, it's like, oh, okay, Gracie Law. Like, there's no like, it was almost like a high school play. It's the best way to describe the dialogue in this movie. But, and once again, it's not meant to, don't watch the movie. If you're looking for this to go for an Oscar, it's not. It's meant to be entertainment.
Agreed.
And it does entertain from start to finish. You gotta say it was entertaining.
Yeah, no, I am happy I finally saw it. I think it's definitely a movie I'd probably watch again. I think I watched it a few times. Absolutely entertaining. I would have been disappointed in John Carpenter if it wasn't at least entertaining. Like everything he does is, has some. It could be out there, but you can't say you're bored.
No, he's. It's definitely like I said, the entertainment factor, the campiness factor, the dialogue. Plus, there's so many actors. As you watch it, you were even watching. You'd be like, I know that guy. I know that guy. He was in this movie. He was in this movie. Like, you could pull up IMDb while you're watching this movie and look up 6 actors that you've seen in something that are in this movie.
That's what I love, too. You're right. And I love that, like, about watching old movies now, because it's like you pick up on that stuff that, obviously, when it's out, they're not in anything else yet. But now you go back to these movies, like, oh, my God, this is where they got their start. And this is how, like, the Egg is like, that's Three Ninjas' grandpa. He taught Tum Tum and Rocky. Like we need to, and that was cool to see him, kind of doing the same kind of mystical kind of guy, same kind of character, and recognize them. And then you see, these people that just are these roles that are in like so many movies. They just, that's what they do. They're just the no names in movies, but that make the movies. That just always show up throughout. They're always like the henchman, or they're always the bad guy, and the main bag a little bit. He's in everything. I can't remember the actor's name, but he, and what I like about him is he does serious roles and he does completely off the wall bonkers roles, like in Balls of Fury, where he's just like nuts. He's just a crazy, old coot kind of guy. So he was cool to see in this.
Yeah, he's got the comedic timing. He's got all that kind of going for him. The actor that you are referring to is James Hung. He plays
James
David.
Hung, yeah.
He plays Lil Pen, and he's been in everything. He was in R.I.P.D.
Yeah.
He was in Balls of Fury. He's been in animated. I think he was even in Kung Fu Panda. He's
the
voice him. Yeah,
the Crane, like his adopted father.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
so yeah, he's good. He's it's crazy to see him in a movie that old, and he's still doing stuff. And how old do you say he's old? Right?
Was born, I believe, in 1929. So he's still
wow.
Yeah.
He's hitting hundreds soon.
Yeah.
Maybe he is Lo Pang and he has immortal life.
Yeah. But, just seeing some of these actors and, the guys that, we grew up watching it is just cool to see.
I agree.
It just brings it back. And that's what I mean. Like, even watching some of these movies, being older now and realizing what is going on, it just makes it, it was a cool, like the 80s and the 90s made some very cool movies. And I think like it kind of defines our generation as we kind of look at these movies and see like the actors we grew up with and growing old. And to me, I don't know about you, but sometimes it makes me sad, like seeing some of these guys like get older, like even like the Brad Pitts, like Kurt Russell, but they're still doing their thing and it's still cool to see.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny. The most recent thing I think I saw Kurt Russell in that I was like, good, he's doing it, was the He was in the Godzilla spin-off show on Apple TV.
That's right. Yep.
And what's cool about it is in that show he stars with his son Wyatt Russell, and they play the same character because he plays the Kurt Russell's character when he's younger in flashbacks, and Kurt Russell plays the current day, and they look alike. So
Wyatt
it works.
Russell plays him? Okay, I haven't seen the show, but I know.
Yeah, it shows good. And anyway, he'd still do good in that. He's still like his snarky self, and he can kick a little ass when he needs to. So I think that's the last thing I've seen him in. That was like last year. I think I saw that.
I mean, come on! Like, look at Harrison Ford in the new Captain America. I mean, he's almost 80 years old. He's playing like the Hulk. That's
insane. It's funny. I remember when the Star Wars movie came out, the Force Awakens. I remember thinking, "Oh my God, he's old." And he's like, "Chewie, we're home." Yeah. And I was like, "He's old now." That's literally 10 years ago, and now he's playing Thunderbolt Ross in Captain America. Yeah, and I don't get it.
Like you told the reporter, the money helps.
Yeah,
that's what he said.
Yep. Yeah, I think it has to. But I don't know. Yeah, and then the Super Bowl, he did the Jeep commercial.
That's right, he did the Jeep commercial. You know what I saw him in, too? He's doing an ad for Scotch whiskey. He's
really?
Kilt. Yeah.
Oh, God. I guess the money does help. Yeah, no, he's good. But I agree. Seeing it's finally hitting our age. I feel like we're old enough now where it's like the people we grew up with are getting old, passing, and it's like, shit. Yeah. It's like we're getting old because now it's like I remember thinking when an old actor died and my dad would say something and I'd be like, oh yeah, I don't know who that is or I didn't care. It just didn't affect me.
Some of our heroes. I mean, if you're looking at it, Kurt Russell was an action star when we were growing up. I mean, he played Snake Plissken. He was in he was in other movies. He was in was it the Soldier movie that you
Universal
loved so
Soldier?
Yeah, no,
oh, is it
Soldier?
Soldier. Yeah, Soldier. Yeah,
Soldier. Like he was an action star. You look at Sylvester Stallone. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Chuck Norris is almost 90 at this point.
I know.
Like some of these action stars, and it's, growing up, like maybe we're living our childhood. We're like, oh yeah, that's why we're doing the podcast. But it's, you got to remember some of these guys, and I don't even know what action stars are coming up now for these kids to like really watch and emulate.
Honestly, I think the action genre as we know it is never going to be the same as it was when we were growing up. I don't think there are any The Rock is probably the closest thing to an action star. Most of his stuff's more funny or this or that. Look at Bruce Willis. Like he was also literally almost he just created almost like the action genre with Die Hard. Like everything he still uses that and I don't know. That's one reason why I like doing this podcast. I want to do it because I think it'll hopefully introduce audiences to these movies that don't take themselves seriously for the most part, are fun to watch, and they help you just forget about the crap going on in the world in general, and they let you just sit back and escape. And that's what a lot of these movies did. The Terminators, the Die Hards, the Time Cops, all that stuff. Those ones I did see, by the way. Which will still do some movies that I've seen in this podcast. Because I still just want to represent the time and the place of these movies.
I think that's me as being like a huge history buff and a movie buff. I think, and I'm hoping that, using a digital platform and talking about these movies will bring this to, I'm sure there's somebody that would listen to this and be like, oh, I really need to see this because they are a movie buff. But I also think like a lot of these kids, I'm sure some of these kids would sit down and look at watch like Big Trouble in Little China and be like, well, this is crap. It's too campy.
Yeah.
But like, you got to know where you've come from.
Agreed.
And watching some of these things and seeing some of the things, it is entertainment, and this is what movies I feel like were made for, was entertainment. You're looking at, like this. You're looking at this movie. This was 1986. You had other movies that like came out after this. You had like one of the big movies like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Commando, which we should definitely review at some point. You had, Rambo was Rambo.
Haven't seen it.
Rambo First Blood came out in the 80s and stuff like that. Like you had this was a different type of action movie. Yeah. And that's a cool part. It's not like that, it doesn't define like a genre. It's action, but there's different kinds of action.
Yeah, this one in particular was really like I said, I was expecting it to be the typical buddy cop just action 80s movie, and it just wasn't. Like I said, it was almost like a mix of Ghostbusters, Indiana Jones, and That's probably mostly those two, and a little bit like of a Die Hard kind of a thing. I would say that it's definitely its own thing, which is cool.
I mean, I think that's what makes the movie. I think you defined it. That's probably the best, because when you said it, I wasn't even thinking that, but when you said it, especially towards the end when they're in that temple scene, I was like, this is just like the Thuggy Temple in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Yep.
But just with more neon lights.
Exactly. That was it. And no karima, no heart ripping, but it was just shy of that.
Yeah.
Even from like the disgusting like sewers underneath the building, like it looked very Temple of Doomy with like what's it called, the black water or something. It was like oil. No, it wasn't oil.
I mean, there was even a time with Ghostbusters. I told you in one of those scenes when they go into Egg Shen's office. That's the Ghostbusters.
That was a good catch.
That's the Ghostbusters fire department.
Totally, yeah. We'll have to confirm that to be sure, but it definitely, you called that. That looks like it, hands down. I was like,
it's
wow.
the big picture window, big door.
Big doors, yeah.
There's even a pole to slide down to the 7 layers of hell in there.
I mean, if the Ghostbusters place didn't have that, they should install it, because they do need the 7 layers of hell down there.
It just went past the reactor.
That's where they keep.
Favorite scenes.
Okay, so with that being said, I think we come to the part of the show now where we need to guess each other's favorite scene. I think this will be a kind of a fun thing we can do as we watch the movie, kind of think of our favorite scene, and you have to try to guess my favorite, and I have to try to guess yours. So, do you have a scene in mind?
I do actually have a scene in mind.
All right, I think you're cut and dry. You're about as deep as a kiddie pool.
Okay.
So, I'm going to say that your favorite scene is the reflex knife throw into the head.
You would absolutely 100% be wrong.
Oh, I thought for sure that was going to be
Although I do love a good line, like it's all in the reflexes because he says that, but that's not it.
All right, what was it?
So my favorite scene in this movie is only because I've seen it so many times. My favorite scene in the movie, and once again because I love the campiness of it, my favorite scene is when you first see the 3 storms, and they get in front of them and they get their weapons out. Because the one scene that kills me is the guy pulls out 2 back scratchers. Basically, is what they are. Yeah. He pulls out the 2 back scratchers, but that's not all. He then spins the back scratchers. But if you look very closely at it, he's got like almost like 2 rings on his hand.
I did notice that,
and they spin on those rings. So that's my favorite. But the overly cheesy gigantic hats, and then their faces. That looks like you said it best. It looked like they're constipated. Yeah, and I'm not saying this to make fun of the movie. It's my favorite scene because it's just so over the top.
Yeah, that's fair. I think. Okay, so I did not guess yours. I really thought that was gonna be it.
Oh, like I said, I do love the recall back to the opening monologue, and I love a good line, but not in this particular case. I do love that scene though.
I don't think. Let's see if you guess mine. Mine. Go ahead. I won't say anything.
You seeing it for the first time. Your favorite scene. I could be wrong about this.
You probably are.
I probably am, but I really do think because the reaction that you got from it. There's 2 in mind, but I think your favorite scene was when they first enter the temple, like towards the end of the movie. And Jack does shoot like the ceiling out from over his head.
Wow!
Am I right or wrong?
You're right.
Am I?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
And this is the reason why, because you got the biggest reaction for it. You're like, and you went, "Oh, come on!" I think that was your exact words. My other scene that I thought when this was like a dark horse, because it's actually one of my scenes, and actually we were watching this again, and I always miss it, was when they send Jack into basically like the whorehouse. And he acts really goofy because he's actually wearing a costume from another movie that Kurt Russell had done in another movie, and I can't remember.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was dressed in that attire before. But I thought that would be the other one because it was so unlike Kurt Russell, because Kurt Russell is so suave and smooth in most scenes. And I know he wasn't supposed to be in this, but he really dumbed it down for that scene.
That was a good scene, too. I like the comedy behind it. But yeah, no, I am shocked. I can't believe we got that. Wow. Yeah, because I didn't think I was like, I was wondering because I was thinking about my favorite scene. I was like, I wonder if it's like enough of a scene for him to even think to guess. And
it is a good scene though, because he's just like, because everyone's going, and he, instead of shooting the bad guys, he shoots straight up in the air.
Straight up in the air, absolutely to no effect except to knock himself out. And like I said, I think that's what Because in my mind, that's when the movie made me realize what the movie is. I think that was it. If it didn't already say it up to that point, that was the tell.
Even in the next scene, like he somehow gets his knife stuck in those cool boots again, and the guy's coming towards him, and then he can't get the guy off his feet.
Yes,
he's literally stuck on his feet in like an awkward back crouch position, trying to get the dead guy off of him.
It's a good point. In the literal last scene of this action movie, the whole big fight scene, he had so little to do with anything, and then he just had the one final blow. That was
you even said it. Wang's doing flips through the air, fighting the no, it wasn't the lightning guy. I think it was it might have been Wind. He's fighting Wind. And he's flipping through, and Kurt Russell stuck there with a guy stuck on his little knife sticking out of his boot.
That's one thing I wanted to know. I wasn't sure, Wang fighting like that. Because here's the thing too. He starts off in the movie. Now getting a little off topic here, but he starts off in the movie not even being able to cut a bottle in half to win a bet with Kurt Russell's character, and then by the end of the movie, he's literally doing side twisting jumps through the air. So I figured it was gonna be some kind of giveaway that he is one of those a fourth storm character, because how the hell did he keep up with that?
No, it's funny. He didn't. Egg was the one that was actually the mystical person. No, he was just a really good fighter.
Yeah, it's just so funny because he starts off as you think he's going to be the sidekick, little wimpy little guy, couldn't cut the bottle in half with a sword. Not only did not even cut, he didn't even break it. It just shot over to Kurt Russell's hand.
That was the coolest scene Kurt Russell had in the entire. He had a lot of cool scenes, but that was the most action related.
Yeah,
the bottle guy. He caught it midair,
Yeah.
Even the maitre d' of the Blackpool Chinese restaurant had more action scenes than Kurt Russell did.
Yeah. That was interesting. It was weird to see him in that role.
The Browometer.
All right, so now we are going to rate this movie on what we call the patented, or maybe not patented, but soon to be famous because, first episode, the Browometer. This is a rating system from 0 to 100, where 0, we basically say skip it. You can just read it on the Wikipedia if you want. And as you get closer to 100 would be, you got to see it before you die and hopefully see it with the best bro. And we get a bromance going. So, do you want to start?
Sure. I think after seeing this movie and talking about it and, watching it as many times as I have, for me, this is a movie that this is what I like to call my sick day movie, because I've seen it so many times, but I can put it on and I still get enjoyment. Most movies I do, but this one in particular, just like I said, the campiness, bringing it back to the 80s for me. This one on the Browometer scale is definitely almost a 75. I would say almost 78. Everyone should at least see it once.
It's funny. Where you were talking, I thought you were going to put it in the high 80s, but I think that's fair. So yeah, you're 75, 78.
I would say I'm going to say 70. I'm going to say 78 because, like I said, I think it's one movie you should definitely see, even if you see it once and be like, this wasn't my cup of tea, but at least you could say you saw it, because there's some pop culture references from this movie that you do see a lot.
Definitely. So, yeah. My rating, I think it just is a good first. I think first of all, I think this is a great first movie for our first episode, because I think it's a good. There's obviously going to be better, and there's plenty that are worse. So I think for me, I think as a good first number, everything. I think I was going to do 80. That's what I was going to give it. I think it's a B- kind of a score. I think it was really good. Obviously, rewatchability is there, everything else, and I do think it should be watched, and I do think it should be with the best bro. So yeah, I think that's it. So here 80 and 78. So those are pretty good reviews from us, I'd say. So with that wraps up our first episode. What do you think? Do you think we did a good job?
I think we did a good job. I think there's always some things to work out, but
I could always find a new co-host, I guess.
You could always find a new co-host. You could, but then would it really be a bromance at this point?
No, they would know that it
wouldn't be a real bromance.
It'd be a sham bromance. It would be
a wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep you. But yeah, once again, if you like the podcast, please subscribe to it. And if you have any comments or things you would like us to see, like I said, if it's an older movie in the 80s, 90s, there's a good chance I haven't seen it. I do love movies, but I tended to watch movies I liked over and over again instead of watching new stuff. So I missed a lot.
I would definitely love to check out some movies, because there's so many movies that I have seen, but there's some that I've missed, and there's some that really should be watched, and we definitely want to hear from people. So yeah, let us know, because we'd love to watch them and talk about them. So
Sounds good. And with that, have a wonderful evening, day, night, whatever you're watching this, and we'll see you soon with episode 2.
Thanks, guys.